Senator Mitchell, it's a great honour to have you with us this evening at King's to recognise your hard work and dedication in the Northern Ireland peace process and in conflict regulation processes in other parts of the world. We're delighted to have you here. Reflecting on the Northern Ireland peace process, what do you see as the key to success in those negotiations?
I think ultimately the people of Northern Ireland, of all communities and from all parts of it, became exhausted with the conflict, tired of it, of the fear and anxiety. And while they still have separate lives, it's a highly segregated place, and they may not have reached a point of full reconciliation. Nonetheless, I think that they've resolved wisely, in my judgment, that whatever differences they have can best be resolved through the political process. And although that can be at times frustrating and imperfect, as are all human beings and human efforts, nonetheless it's far better than the tremendous amount of fear, anxiety, and considerable degree of death and destruction that occurred during the conflict. So I think it was the people of Northern Ireland themselves and their political leaders. It's fashionable in these days in most democracies, including our own here in the UK and in the US, to be critical of political leaders, to demean and regard them as not very effective. But I will say that in Northern Ireland, a group of men and women with great courage and vision came together to reach an agreement that was extremely difficult for them. They had been in conflict for most of their lives and rose to the occasion that I think is inspiring and moving as an example of what political leaders can do when they have the will and the determination, and hopefully in this case ultimately the support of the people.
In the Middle East and Mediterranean Studies program here at King's, our students are every year focusing on what lessons can be learned from the Northern Ireland political process for the Middle East. And I mean, do you see key things that can be taken from your experience in Northern Ireland and applied there?
The situations have some similarities. Obviously they involve religion, national identity, competing claims on territory, but there are also vast differences between them. Each human being is unique, each society is unique, each conflict is unique. There are some general principles about the need for compromise, the need for strong leadership, the need for patience and determination that apply. But in the end, it takes the people themselves and their leaders to solve their own problems. Peace is very difficult to achieve in divided societies. It's especially difficult to impose it from the outside. So there must be a desire and a feeling on the part of the people and a willingness to take the steps needed to make peace. That did exist in Northern Ireland. It has not so far existed between Israelis and Palestinians, but I think it will. Because I believe that the pain that they will endure politically in each society from negotiating a compromise agreement will actually be less than what they will endure if they don't reach an agreement. I think both Israel and the Palestinian people face very serious and dangerous futures, and an important step to alleviating those dangers and to dealing with the future effectively will be to sit down, negotiate, and reach agreement on a two-state solution.
In the Centre for the Study of Divided Societies here at King's, one of our main focuses is on analysing third-party intervention in divided societies. And in Northern Ireland, where you had the positive input from the United States and under your leadership, the Irish government and the British government, these things contributed to significantly to the peace process succeeding. Is that a one-off, or do you think that form of third-party intervention can be replicated in what is an increasingly multipolar world?
I think it depends upon the individual situation, but I believe in most cases, including Northern Ireland and the Middle East, intervention by some third party is essential, because the parties had lost, Northern Ireland and the Middle East have lost the willingness and capacity to talk directly to each other. So there has to be some mechanism for a dialogue, even if an indirect one, for them to come together. I don't think you can solve it from the outside. You can help create a framework, structure, within which the parties can themselves engage. And I believe that will occur in the Middle East, although I confess to you that right now, in the immediate future, it's difficult to be optimistic. But I think ultimately individuals and societies act out of self-interest. And I think the self-interest of both Israelis and Palestinians is in a two-state solution.
And finally, if in the coming months or years there is another US Special Envoy for Peace appointed to the Middle East, what advice would you offer him or her?
A lot of patience, a lot of perseverance, and be prepared to do a lot of traveling. It was very difficult for me, but I must say I enjoyed the challenge and the opportunity. I'm very grateful to President Obama for asking me to serve. But in the end, I think what one must do is to create a framework within which the parties themselves can begin to regard each other not as they or others, but as sharing a common humanity and sharing objectives. The one thing I found is that people everywhere, I found this in Northern Ireland and every north and south place in the world, love their children, want their children to do well, want to get them off to a good start in life. And that can only happen in a society that's at peace with security and opportunity for their people.
Senator Mitchell, an honor to have you with us this evening.
Thank you.
Thank you.